Hey everyone, I wanted to make some video solutions of the homework from Wednesday night. I forgot to record the meet on Wednesday, so hopefully if you need a little extra help going over these solutions in a video, should hopefully clear up any problems. So questions 1 through 4, I gave you a demo on the worksheet that I posted. So number 2, let's just start there. I'm asked to just divide. So 1 through 4, I'm just using synthetic division. And we talked about with synthetic division, similar to long division, the divisor goes outside, and for us, we're going to use the opposite. So if I see a plus 2, that means we're going to use a negative 2 on the outside. So I'm going to put a negative 2 on the outside. My coefficients, just like regular synthetic substitution, go on the inside. And then the process is the same as it was a couple weeks ago when we did synthetic substitution. We start by dropping the first coefficient. And then from here on out, we're going to multiply what's outside and then add what's inside. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. I add down, I get negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. I add down, I get negative 9. Negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18. And again, I got one more add down here, so negative 26 and 18 is negative 8, I believe. And with synthetic substitution way back when, this would just give us our answer, what you get when you plug in that number. However, we're doing division, so keep in mind, just like long division, every time we divided, like if we did long division, we would do n cubed divided by n. We're not actually, we don't see that here, but it's actually happening. So this whole time, whatever started as n cubed is dropping an exponent. So in my answer, this coefficient of 1 now goes with x squared. This 1 in the beginning was an n squared. That means it's going to end as just an n. This negative 11 had an n. Now this minus 9 in my answer is just my constant. That means this negative 8 is my remainder. So I'm going to write it. You could write with a minus and then just leave the 8 positive. I'm going to stick with a plus here. Over the divisor, what we've been dividing by the whole time. Let me do one more. I'm not going to go through all of these. Let's do one more. I'll do 3. So again, I'm still dividing. The opposite of what you see in the divisor, I'm going to use a 7 on the outside of my synthetic. The coefficients go inside. And then my process, I start by dropping the first coefficient underneath. And from here on out, I multiply and then add. So 7 times 5 is 35. I add down, I get negative 2. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. I add down, I get negative 1. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. I add down, I get negative 2. Now this is my answer, so to speak. It's my coefficients. I got to get my letters back in. So if it started as x cubed, I'm going to drop an exponent, and this coefficient's now going to be 5x squared. This started as x squared. It's going to end as just x. Whatever started as x is going to be my constant. And then again, at the end there, it's my remainder. I'm going to write it over the divisor, what I've been technically dividing by the whole time. So the answers are already posted, I believe, for today. So just try, check your answers. Obviously, you can see those 3. Check your answer to 4. If you got it wrong, maybe try it again after watching those. You might want to pause the video and just go back and check them. Let's move on to the next set, though. Factor each using synthetic division. One factor has been given. So in the Google Meet yesterday, we talked about if I got this 4-term expression where I can't factor this by grouping. Okay, this will not factor by grouping, so I need to go some other route. Well, that other route here is synthetic division. If this is a factor, which it's telling me one factor has been given, if x minus 5 is a factor, that means if I divide it from this, I'm going to get a remainder of 0. That's good news. It also means what started as a cubic is going to end as a quadratic, okay, which again is good news because I can factor quadratics. So let's go ahead and divide just like we did in those first couple problems. So I'm going to put a 5 on the outside. My coefficients on the inside. Same process we just did in the division. I'm still dividing. I'm just going to get a remainder of 0 at the end. So I drop the 1. From here I just multiply and add. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 1 is 5. I add down, I get negative 5. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Add down, I get 6. And then last, multiply 5 times 6 is 30. Add down, and I get 0. There's my smiley face from the notes yesterday. I'm happy because I confirmed that this is a factor. I got a remainder of 0. That means it divided evenly. There's no remainder. And I'm also happy because now what's left is a quadratic. It started as a cube. So what's left is x squared minus 5x plus 6. And we're good at quadratics. We should be able to factor any quadratic if we see it, if it's factorable. So my final answer, there's just my same x minus 5. This one's going to factor. X and x come first. All right, the only way to get x squared. And two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to negative 5, well, that's negative 3 and negative 2. So there's my final answer. All right, one more on the homework here. Again, I did a sample. So using the same idea as before, if I'm given a factor, I can divide it out. Well, if I'm given a 0, it says 1 0 has been given. If I'm given a 0, well, that means that 0 came from this factor, x plus 2 equals 0. So what I put outside my division is that negative 2 in this case. And then my coefficients go inside. So I got a 1, 3, 5, 9, and 6. I drop this first coefficient, and I multiply and add. Multiply and add. Multiply, add, and multiply. And I'm happy I get a remainder of 0. And I'm happy because I just confirmed that this is a solution. I'm not even going to write the factor. I'm asked to solve or find all zeros. So that is one of my solutions. I'm also happy this started out as 4th. Now it's going to end as x cubed plus x squared. All these are just dropping an exponent. Plus 3x plus 3. And we'll find in the Google Meet on Friday that we can actually find another 0 on a graph and continue to factor it that way. However, I think this is going to factor by grouping. So let's just do that. It's been a little bit. So if I group the first two terms, I can get an x squared out. In parentheses, when I divide out the x squared, that'll leave me with x plus 1. And then I group my second two terms. And from here I can get a plus 3. So I take a plus 3 out. And I'm left with conveniently x plus 1. So grouping is going to work here. Because now you can see that those groups match. So I can undistribute an x plus 1. Oops, I forgot my 1. And then I'm left with x squared plus 3. And all that's equal to 0, so now I can go ahead and set those two factors equal to 0. So if I set x plus 1 equal to 0, that's going to give me negative 1, right? I just subtract 1. And pay attention in this last one. This was a common mistake on the quiz that you turned in on Tuesday. If I set x squared plus 3 equal to 0, I'm going to start off subtracting 3. That'll give me x squared equals negative 3. And then I'm going to square root both sides. And when I square root, let me get a different color here. When I square root a negative 3, two things happen. One, every time I square root, I get a plus minus. And here, because of that negative, an I comes out. And then the 3 is just stuck in the square root. So hopefully, if you struggled a little bit with the homework, this clears it up. We are going to do more of the same in Friday's Google Meet. However, in Friday's Google Meet, we're going to look at, well, what do we do if we're not given a factor, if we're not given a 0? How can we solve from there?